Hello beer tubers and welcome to the Master of Hoppets Top 10 Best Beers of 2022. 2022 was a fantastic year. Lots of amazing beer and also non-beer related beverages. We did a lot of awesome traveling, did the Belgium tour, also Germany, but Belgium, Lambic land. I'm drinking Lambic right now. Some Gures, New Year's Gures. Cheers. Amazing, amazing, amazing times. If you're a lover of Lambic, you need to make that trip at least once in your life. I want to make it more than once now because that was amazing. So yeah, great year. Lots of awesome beer. And of course, you're going to get a top 10 of the best beers I tried this year. I usually do a honorable mentions list of beers that did not make the cut, but we're not doing that this year. Mainly because I really liked the format last year of mentioning breweries instead, where it's not a numerical value that defines if it gets a shout out, it's if I think the brewery or producer needs a shout out. Because I think there's a lot of stuff that would fly under the radar otherwise because they've been really good, but it's not just, hit that perfect mark or whatever, or hit like just below world class. A lot of them are world class, but just like some breweries that really, I think, deserve a mention more so than something that's already been mentioned on the list because I loved it and gave it a high grade. So I think we're changing it to this format instead this year. And of course, it makes sense. The beers in the top 10 you should check out, and beers from these breweries you should check out. There's only one brewery. I try to keep breweries that are not on the top 10 out of this shout out list, besides one, because I think it needs a little bit of explanation. But yeah, I said producers as well, because the first one is not a brewery. Well, technically, but it's Marlobobo from Norway. I think Marlobobo is one of the best producers of mead in the world at the moment. And I've tried some of the best mead in the world from amazing producers in the States. And I think, they're definitely doing meads as good. And I think the variety of Marlobobo's meads is amazing. It's everything from melomels and sweet meads to spontaneously fermented meads, Pednat style. I think it was meads, but also fruit wines. But there's also the side project, Marlobobo's Mega Bear, which is beer. And there's been barrel aged stouts. There's been some hazy IPAs and whatnot. But I think it's really the meads are crazy. And Marius, who's doing the brewing and mead making, is just doing such a great job using really, really awesome, great, high quality ingredients, and often locally foraged and sourced, like the cloudberry one. You have to go there and go to Norway and go out in nature and pick the berries yourself, because they're really hard to come by. So I think, that's really cool. And that's why this brewery meadery deserves a mention. The next one is one that you guys know. It's Cloudwater. I think Cloudwater has been doing really, really well. I got to pick up quite a few Cloudwater beers when I was in the UK earlier this year. They did the Vale collabs, the hazies, which was as good as all the crazy American stuff. But that's not my focus. It's the fact that they are helping bringing back West Coast beers, because they've been doing a few. Especially Volley. Volley was so dope. Such a great West Coast IPA. And they've also really started to hit that American barrel game. The Edge of All We Know, that was aged in Turkish apricot brandy barrels, was so good. It was quite different because of the apricot brandy, so it was just a new layer of flavor instead of bourbon that we're all used to. And then it had adjuncts and whatnot. It was just such an awesome beer. And it's a brewery that's been around for so long now, but it's really nice to see them branch out. Like they've done hazies for so long, but now they're just branching out a bit more, which is great. The next one is one that I probably wouldn't have mentioned if it wasn't for Joseph, so thanks a ton, Joseph, but it is Pivovar Továrna in the Czech Republic. I've never experienced or come close to experiencing drinking fresh Czech lager beer in the Czech Republic before, because I've never been, but the closest I've come is the lagers that he has brought over. He lives in Aalborg, and he's brought some lagers from home, and when I've gotten to try them, they've been like 6 or 5 days old in weird PET bottles, but their Tovarenska 10 was awesome, and I think I gave it a 94. I should have given it a 95. I mean, that was actually a beer that could have been on the top 10 list, even though there's no lagers this year. There's usually never lagers, even though I always want to get a lager on there, but they need at least a 95. And maybe that should have been a 95. It was just amazing Czech lager, such high quality, and not, the crazy buttery Czech lager that people often associate with Czech beer. It was just more pure, fresh, bitter, dry, Really, really good. Crazy good stuff. So thanks a ton for that. Then we got Croma, Brazil on the list. Okay, Brazil. You're thinking, if you've never heard of Brazilian craft beer, Brazil beer, that's probably not something you'd think of, but there's a lot of stuff going on in Brazil, and there's been going on a lot of stuff in Brazil for years. I've reviewed many different Brazilian beers, but one of the breweries at the moment that's really nailing it is Croma. I've tried, it's mainly for barrel aged beer. They've done some nice IPAs I've tried, but it's mainly been for barrel aged stuff because their barrel game is really damn crazy. We have one on the Christmas calendar, which was just nuts, and I've got a plethora of ones to try it as well still. But yeah, that was like also, I keep saying American level with some of these things, or I will, but that's because they are currently some of the best in making these kinds of beers. And I think they nailed doing something similar. Not exactly similar, because they also play around with local things like cachaça barrels and whatnot. So they for sure need a shout out too. Amazing stuff. Up next is an old school brewer from Sweden that I've had the pleasure of drinking a lot of beer from this year. Most of the stuff has been in Sweden actually, but otherwise it's been a couple of reviews from Närke. Närke is a legendary Swedish brewer by now, and it's been for years. And mainly what I've been doing videos of has been their Kaggen variants. I've tried quite a few with Dad over the years, and it's really fun that they're still playing around so much with using different types of barrels and whatnot. They've been really nice. They're quite a different ballpark than your crazy American hype stout. They're more balanced, they're more easygoing, the barrel characters are softer, but they're just really, really good old school beers. Awesome stuff. For sure a brewery as well. If you haven't checked them out, do so. Then we got another Czech brewery, Siberia. These guys really surprised me because I only thought they were doing very modern stuff at first, because I had some pastry sours, one of them things I usually don't care for. But then I discovered their lager game. Whew, that was really good. Their collab with the Piggy, Jean-Pierre Lager, get that. That was one of the best craft pilsners I've ever had, or at least this year. And also their New Zealand Pilsner we did on the Christmas calendar. They are doing some really great lagers, but they also do loads of different stuff. They also do some West Coast IPAs actually, which is really awesome. So yeah, that's probably one of the more interesting modern breweries I think in the Czech Republic right now. If we're not talking producers of wild ale, but and beer you can actually get, but it's really good. And speaking of wild ale, up next is Tommy Chef. Tommy Chef has just gotten better and better over the years, and we got to try a boatload of awesome wild ales from him at MBCC. I have a membership, so I've gotten to go through a lot of them as well, but specifically like Ude, their interpretation of like a Lambic with extra aged Lambic was just awesome. And also the Druif, which was like on par with some of the great grape Lambics. So I think Tommy Chef is something that's not talked as much about as with other producers of wild ale or modern Lambic producers, but I think it's a brewery that needs more focus because it's just great what they're putting out, or what Tommy's putting out. So Tommy Chef's for sure something you should check out. The next one I talked about, Czech breweries, is Metaphor. I've had a handful of stuff from Metaphor, but it's been awesome. What I really love is that they're focusing on crazy cool wild ales. They're doing awesome wild ales with lots of different ingredients. But what I also really love is that they're doing lagers. And they're doing a lot of different lagers, and they're doing a lot of oak-aged lagers. And I've mainly had them at festivals, but they've been really great. And also I had some on the trip this summer in the Netherlands and in Amsterdam. But yeah, just really, really high quality stuff. The next one is actually what I'm drinking. Lambic from the Kam. The Kam is also an under the radar Lambic producer, I think. The ones that always get the most talked about online are the ones that are really hard to get, like Bofkant or Bocke, and they are amazing. Cantillons, one-offs, and Fonteinen, and they are amazing. But the Kam needs more attention too, because I think they're making some really nice Lambic, and a lot of them are so easy to get and so easy drinkable as well. Like drinkability is also a big plus for me with a lot of beer these days, and I think the Kam has that. But they also have a lot of complex flavors, a lot of awesome funk, and then they just have such a huge portfolio of different like fruited Lambics or Lambics with aged like for even longer, or there's a lot of different stuff. from these guys, and I think that's for sure, or this guy, Karel, and I think for sure it's a producer that you guys should check out. And then we got one that, of course, Cantillon. That was one of the biggest surprises this year. Going to the brewery, drinking their Lambic at the bar was insane. The selection there, I mean, the main reason why they're on this list, because everyone knows they should drink Cantillon, is because of their crazy selection at the bar, at the brewery. I mean, all the rare hype stuff that you want to try. You can, not everything, but if you go there, there's definitely going to be some of it. And it's so affordable. They are not charging a premium. They're charging, I think the most expensive bottles was 35 euros. Otherwise, like 20, 25. It's crazy. Go there, drink awesome hype Lambic instead of trading for it. And yeah, then you're thinking Cantillon, now 3 Fonteinen, but they're not going to be mentioned because maybe they are somewhere else. Then we got something that's a bit interesting that I think deserves a big mention and something that'll be fun to follow is Placenty Street. Placenty Street is a homebrew project here in Denmark. And it's Patrick who runs it. I've only tried one of his beers, and that beer was enough for it to be mentioned on here. It's a collab with WeldWerks as well. He's been doing a lot of collabs with brewers that have physical breweries, like not home brewers in Denmark, and he's been doing a lot of stuff. But Stellar is really the thing that, I think he deserves a mention for. You can't get him, but I think you can't get any of his beers, but you can get his collabs. And I think it's worth keeping an eye out for those because Stellar was such high level. It was one of the best barrel-aged beers I've ever had from Denmark, and it was from a home brewer, which is crazy cool. So I think for sure that's something that'll be interesting to follow. I don't think there's so far any plans of making commercial beer, but if it was the case, I think it's a brewery that we would be getting a lot of attention. Then a brewery from Texas, Live Oak. Live Oak, I tried a huge handful of beer from them last year, and I loved it. Their lager game is on point. Their gold, I would love to have that beer in the fridge all day, every day. That was so good, their German Pilsner. I love that they play around with so many classic beer styles, especially German ones, and they're doing it so well. It's one of the breweries in the States that I think is doing the European styles best at the moment. There's, of course, a lot of brewers these days, and there's still a few I need to try, like Enegren and, what are they called in Colorado? Bierstadt. And there's a few others. But to me, this was really good. And I think it's for sure a brewery you should seek out. And they're fairly easy to get if you live in the States, that is. And then a European brewery, Holy Goat. Holy Goat is a brewery I'm really looking forward to be following, especially when they're going to be releasing barrel-aged stuff. Barrel-aged stouts, really. But they are awesome. They're making some fantastic stuff. They're from Scotland, and they are doing wild ales with really cool ingredients, lots of different barrels and whatnot, like tropical fruits, whatever, you name it. But they are grounded. They're not over the top. We shouldn't speak ill of another brewery close by in Scotland that is doing wild ales, but doing them more over the top. These are more grounded. They taste like wild ales. They don't taste like fruit cocktails. And they're so good. They're really awesome. And then also they're bringing back stouts that taste like stouts. And I love pastry stouts now. They're so fun. But it is so awesome to dig into like a smoked stout and like this huge faux hammer British style imperial or English style imperial stout they did. That was just like unlike any other OG English beer. It was like taking an English beer style, looking at it a little bit modernly, but also keeping it very grounded in tradition. And that was awesome. I think that's a brewery that's really going to be interesting to follow. Then this one, okay, I said there was one brewery that's going to be on the list, and this is the one. This is Mcilhenney. There was a few West Coast IPA makers I wanted to mention this year, but they got shout outs last year, so I thought we should make room for someone else, even though these guys will also be in the top 10 here. I said it. But Mcilhenney is just one of the brewers I've had the most anticipation of trying beer from this year. And when I tried their stuff, I was not disappointed at all. Why? Because it's the people behind Alpine. Alpine used to be one of the goats back in the day of the California beer scene. And I must say, they've really delivered with their new stuff. I've really been impressed so far, and I really hope I can get to try more. I think they've even released their first barrel-aged beer now. But they do cans, and I think they started canning last year, actually. And they sporadically are doing like online sales. But otherwise, you have to go to the brewery in Alpine. But it's awesome, and it's awesome to see them back because, you know, Alpine was just one of the best back in the day. So yeah, fantastic. And the last shout out goes to Omnipollo, a brewery you guys also know, but I want to give them a shout out for what they're doing right now at the church. That is like the dream project of any brewer. Having a custom built brew house that can brew anything from awesome lagers to crazy over the top stouts, and heavily dry hop beers and whatnot. I think so far the quality I've had on beers have been just crazy good, and I think the fact that they're putting such a big focus on numerous different things is amazing, because Omnipollo has always been known for making all these over the top pastry things. But they're not only doing that there at the moment. They're doing many different things. They're doing all their lagers. They have like loads of lagering tanks. They're going to do oak-aged lagers. They've been doing West Coast IPAs this year as well, although I haven't gotten to try any yet. But I think the quality's been really good. I think some people said it's been hit and miss, but I haven't tried every single release, so maybe there's been some that's not been as good as others, but what I've had so far has been great. So yeah, for sure, a brewery that you should keep your eyes on. Specifically the church. The church is so interesting. So yeah, there we go, guys. Awesome list of breweries here that you should be drinking beer from next year. And there's going to be 10 more beers that you should try and get next year. And if you can't get them, try and get some beer from the breweries at least. Some of them you can come by in Europe. So thanks a ton for a great year, guys. It's been awesome. Lots of beer traveling in 2022. Hopefully some more in 23. We'll see. But yeah, just even though it's tough times at the moment, there's just so much good stuff going on in beer still, which is awesome. So remember to support your local breweries and the breweries you want to see years from now. With all these things going on at the moment, make sure to support them, because right now is when they need you guys the most. So cheers, and here's to a fantastic 23, and stay tuned for the top 10 best beers I had in 22. Cheers. Oh man, that is new school or modern West Coast at its finest. Fuck, that's delicious. It's like not heavily saturated, but it's popping flavor, and it's like really like a crusher you could drink all day. It really is taking me back to drinking OG Alpine. Man, this is what I hoped so much. Like the first one I tried, the triple IPA, was really good. I think it was a little bit like exponential hoppiness, but I'm more into this kind of IPA nowadays. It's really fruity up front. Aftertaste is super clean and crisp, with like really nice crackers, slightly bready malt, but then there's like this really nice drying bitter finish. I said I was going to share some of this with my girlfriend. I'm afraid I might not be able to, because this is going down way too fast. Mega dank. Yeah. That is the definition of fucking dank IPA. Yeah. Really nice, that just has creeping bitterness. Like, it's not crazy, but it creeps.
Yeah. That's a really great modern West Coast IPA.
So dope. So yeah, there is a touch of old school tradition, but it's totally modern West Coast as well. It's so saturated too. Like
now that we had the cold IPA, you definitely sense this has more intensity and that extra layer of flavor and
bitterness. You can see that this is more trying to be a West Coast IPA and not trying to be this lagery, more drinkable type of beer.
It's great having this after
fucking smells good.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. That is so dank. Slice nails the dankness so bad. I mean, Beachwood does a lot of like really awesome flavor IPAs that also have a lot of dankness. This is so like, it's both cushy, like pineapple kush and blueberry kush, but then it has, and I think that's Columbus, this really resiny dankness. And it's so light and crushable. Like, you could drink liters of this. This does not drink like an 8.5% beer. Do you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me so much of drinking apple brandy barrel noir from Prairie back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god. It's a much beefier, bigger, richer base.
Yeah.
But I think the big thing is the fruitiness as well. There's loads of like fruity stewed apple and like think apple strudel or apple pie filling. There's loads of it, but it's not like craziness.
Like you also get like tobacco and
char,
dark
leather,
and char,
and that kind of like applewood smoke really follows through.
Yeah.
There's like this slight applewood smoke, kind of like fruity smoke. Like again, if you ever use fruit wood for barbecuing, it's got some of those kind of vibes. Lots of char, but loads of fudge too.
Yeah.
Wow, it's umami rich. Really heavy, really intense woodiness. Really rich, decadent. It's really, really like it's old money meets new school.
Yeah, it is.
But there's so much old money about this too.
In the best possible way, I think.
It has like a really bright, fudgy, almost like maple syrup bourbon profile.
Yeah, but then with this like smoky, slightly almost like smoked licorice.
Yeah.
Or something, and then
smoked, woody, burnt,
really dark chocolate.
Almost like, have you ever accidentally chewed on star anise? It has like almost like that, like sharpness, almost like a mix of star anise and tobacco.
Mm-hmm.
The effervescence of champagne.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's delicious.
Yeah.
It's got balance. It's got smoke. It's got funk. But it's really champagne-y. It's so carbonated and it's really bone dry.
But you know,
it is so. I love it.
The flavor is so vibrant because of the carbonation.
I'm gonna call it this already. This is the best wild ale I've ever had from the UK.
Yeah.
It is. It is such a unique twist on wild ales, and it has the level of funk of the Lambic.
Yeah, like
I'm calling
that's
it right
also
now.
what I was so impressed by when I had it a year ago. It's like the depth of flavor.
God, it's so good.
Because it's like it, you know, it tastes like a super duper well aged like Fonteinen Goose, but then with this like so authentically interpreted Islay element.
Wow, that is really, really nice. It's developed carbonation, so there's a really, really gentle carbonation. It's even got like hints of like butterscotch toffee. Oh man, dude, this is amazing Lambic. Really musty old funk, not as crazy funk as in the Hefts. That was insane. And as I said, that really opened over time. It was crazy beer, but this has a really nice musty funkiness and like old sort of woody funk. And I think maybe also the sherry barrels contribute to that. It has a really nice dry sherry flavor and like just like really dry vinous quality, really dry musty oak. It also has that like almost like old library, dusty old musty cellar funk, not as extreme and intense as on Herbst, but it's definitely there. It's like this will age insanely well, I think. Oh, there's so much vanilla.
Oh my god!
I see the cherry on the flavor,
and also like that chocolate brownie thing is just.
It is rich, but it's not too rich. Like I think there is a case of barrel and possibly adjunct that help balance out the richness of the base. Or the base
is just like the vanilla. Yeah, these guys are just immense at doing vanilla beers.
Fuck, that is crazy delicious.
Yeah.
Wow.
But that is like a Mead and UK base.
Yeah. It's very much like Mead and UK, but I think it's a little bit brighter. But that might also just be the barrels, but
yeah.
Fuck, that's delicious.
Yeah, because it's like a blend of several barrels,
Maybe. Or maybe it's a Moksa thing. I don't know. They said they made the recipe together, but it's very Mead and UK-like for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's like, like this 70-80% chocolate, but then a bit more fudgy and vanilla.
Yeah, more fudge, like fudgy caramel, caramelized red apple is a bit there too. That could even be the barrel. That
and
autumnal
then that
spice,
raisin thing you
but
talked
that
about.
toasty cinnamon thing is totally there too for me. Like it's almost like a burnt cinnamon.
Yeah.
There is like an autumnal spice from bourbon sometimes, and I get that. Oh my lord, that mouthfeel.
Yeah.
Oh, there's so much saturation of bourbon.
Yeah.
Okay, I take that back. With wow, man, maple too.
Yeah.
The saturation of bourbon is it's also quite warming actually. But so is Deal with the Devil.
Yeah, yeah.
But I think the saturation is, I don't know if it's the same, but there is so much bourbon.
Yeah.
And it's a very layered bourbon complexity. It's got both that kind of bright vanilla caramel fudgy thing. It even has, I could smell it from the aroma.
It's like salty,
Yes, salinity vibes. And there is that like almost stewed fruitiness, stewed red apple or something, caramelized red apple. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
You don't get those flavors at Deal with the Devil.
No. Besides the stewed red apple.
No, but you don't really get licorice.
No.
Like this kind of almost soy umami-esque vibe.
What and wow!
It's just
Such a whiff of barrel. Like I was so scared that it would have less barrel character, but there's so much barrel character. And so
such
much
a
bit of
huge
tobacco, a lot of tobacco.
Tobacco
too.
leaf.
Oh my god! It's been so long since we cracked a beer like this. This is so fucking good, man.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
It has that tobacco, like pipe tobacco leaf kind of.
It's so different from a Deal with the Devil, though. It's almost like the triple.
Triple,
It's
yeah.
almost as if the Madagascar vanilla beans amplifies a bit of like a dark fruity tobacco thing even more.
I actually see that.
Because I'm getting much more tobacco,
Yeah,
pipe
it's
tobacco.
much more like.
And leather.
Yeah, in the aroma, it's more like a creme brulee, marshmallowy thing. The
Oh my
flavor is more
goodness.
like spicy tobacco.
Oh my goodness, I'm melted. Oh my god, I can't remember I can't remember the last time I had a beer at this level. Like,
You taste that it is vanilla
Oh.
that gives it, but like
Yeah.
the complexity of that vanilla, along with the barrel, is just fucking crazy.
and as always, remember to subscribe, check out the Facebook fan page, Twitter, and Instagram. Give this video a thumbs up. Enjoy it. Ring the bell for future notifications about videos on the website. Cheers
Yep.
and crazy high body wine, and see you guys in the review.